Hello, welcome to How to Play Tumblin Dice, a game for two or more players. This game comes to us from 30games.com. You can go there and purchase your own board. And it's a pretty interesting party game, so like most party games, it's not very rules intense. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. You're thinking, hey, what happened to the game that we elected as Game of the Month? And I understand, yeah, it's very, very important that we do the Game of the Month, but unfortunately, at the moment, I'm having some confusion with Eat or Run, and talking to the game's creator to get over that confusion. So as soon as that's over with, we'll have that video done. But it's been a while since I've made a video, so let's go ahead and get started with setting up Tumblin Dice. Pretty simple setup. I actually found this on my last road trip. In the state of Ohio, of all places, there is a Amish country buffet and mall and crafts fair place that we were right next to, like a flea market. And we went in there, and this guy was selling games on the second floor, and this one was used. And I remember seeing this before at the Branson Board Game Cafe, so I knew I always wanted it. So each player is going to take a dice, and they can either toss it, they could roll it. It just has to hit that pad, or they could push it off the pad, but it has to make contact with that starting plank, and then they can go. So each player is going to have a color of dice. Now you can pretty much start the turn order by having everybody roll one dice. Whoever had the highest roll goes first, or however you want to do it. So today we decided to do black. Now it's not really explicitly written in the rules, but I always had the idea that since it's printed on the board that you need to keep your dice on the 3 before you flick it, roll it, or slam it, or whatever you want to do to get it. So there we see we got a 5 in the 4 multiplier 4 station. So since it's on the board, it counts. If it goes off the board, it doesn't count. Now you could bump your opponent's dice off the board if you want. You risk bumping your own off the board. So there is some strategy in determining who goes first. Now the way we house ruled this game is that we decided that whoever's in the lead at the end of the 4 rounds of this will decide turn order. So if you're in last place, you get to decide turn order, and if you're in the lead, you just at the mercy of whoever's in last place. It makes it a real interesting strategic decision as far as what the turn order should be, and I just really love this aspect of flicking dice. You'd think it'd be easy, like this isn't a hard game. Then you try to play it yourself, and you try to get in that pocket with the 4 multiplier, and it's somewhat tough. And sometimes you could be in the double or triple side with a high number, and it's better than being on the 4 with a low number, especially if it's a 1. So it's very much an arithmetic game, but also it's just a lot of fun. Real simple rules. You could house rule this all you want. You could have a deck of cards and maybe have a different type of roll that everybody has to do, whether whenever they draw a card, like you have to roll it physically or you have to bounce it. Something like that. That would add a lot of strategy to this, a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with this game as soon as we brought it back home and set it up. Everybody enjoyed it, wanted to play it over and over again, wanted to do some practice with it. Just a great game. If you can find this, I would definitely pick it up and order it. It might be a lot of money online. Luckily, I was able to get this used, and really this is one of those games that if you're into carpentry, you could probably just make yourself. If not, purchasing it's going to be a little difficult because there are some high prices. This does fetch a very high price even as a used game. So round 1's over. We're going to total all the scores up, and we'll decide the turn order based on whoever the loser was. So the loser decided red needs to go third, and then they put black going first. They put green going second, and blue going last. So there might be some good strategic importance of going last. Maybe you get to play better defense. Maybe going first, you want to be a little bit more conservative with your pushes or with your flicks or with your tosses or rolls. Try to get in a fairly easy spot so you can get bumped. Try to block the 4 multiplier paths, the 4 multiplier platforms, I guess. So there we had blue knock off red. There might be some strategic decision making with that. Other than that, it's just an extremely fun game. Now black has managed to get into the -1 territory, so he's going to be receiving -5 points. Now, he could bump his own dice, he could bump his opponent's dice, they could bump him. Nobody's going to want to do that, though, because they're going to try to maintain their lead, but with that dice being in the way, it might cause some problems later on. There's probably a whole lot of ideas people get when playing such a game like this, because it's less of a board game at this point and more of an athletic sport, even though you're only using your fingers and hands and not really using your legs. But there's definitely something to be said about positioning your body so that your eye levels even with the table when you're flicking. You'll see people do that. You'll see people get down on a knee and try to get as low as they can when aiming, because as much as it seems like it'd be an easy task to aim a die, it's actually a very difficult one. It never quite goes where you think it's going to go. If you're trying to bump another dice, it might not go where you want it to, or you risk losing your own in the process of bumping your own dice. It happens, but this is a very fun game. Definitely loved it. Glad I made this purchase. I can't remember how much I paid for. I think it was maybe $24 used. I can't remember. But either way, it was worth every penny because this was a lot of fun. Everybody wanted to play it again. So everybody's taking their turn. We do our scores. We add them with the previous totals. We have last place choose the turn order again. And we see green tried to roll it, and it managed to go off the table. So that won't count for anything. That'll be in the 0 box. So 0 times whatever the amount is will still always equal 0, so nothing to be counted there. Everybody else takes their turn. People at the back might be playing more aggressively. People at the front might be playing more conservatively, maybe less risk averse than those at the back. Those at the back might try to play defense and try to knock everybody else's die off. And we all know who has the highest score, so people could try to go after the leader or the second place. Especially if you're in last place, you might want to be tempted to knock off other people's dice. But you never know. It also might be a good opportunity just to play risk-averse and try to get your dice in a good spot where they will have a good multiplier effect and you will get a lot of points. A lot of things to consider. Do you want to toss the dice? Do you want to bounce it? Do you want to roll it? There's just all kinds of things to do with this game that I really, really enjoyed, really loved. Everybody that's played this with us has enjoyed it so far. It has very high recommended rankings on Board Game Geek, because it's just universally everybody can get into a party game like this where it's not too serious. You're flicking dice. It's more of a sport. It's almost like shooting hoops in the backyard if you have a basketball hoop, but a lot less athletic ability required. And you know how some people are. They'll get very competitive, and that also makes this a lot of fun. Now, you probably will see this game in the future, because I did read on Board Game Geek that this game is quite fun with other shaped dice rather than a 6-sided dice. If you had a 4, 8, or 6-sided die, this is a great game for that. So you might see that come into play in the future. We'll see what happens. But for now, we're just showing you the D6 side version of this game, because it's a very fun game, and I think everybody's going to really, really enjoy this. So let's see how this flick goes here. Oh, pretty good, right in the 3 multiplier. Oh, we knocked red off, so that was good defensive play. Now red's last, so going to take aim at somebody, but he gets the 6 in the double side. So now red is no longer in last place. Black will be in last place. Black decides to put himself first. We'll see if that did him any favors. And we'll start off with black on the board and see where they go. Looks like he's going to flick his. He gets it right in the 4 spot with a 6. That's the best possible outcome you could have. But now he's got to worry about red trying to bump him off. But red does not do that. Red, in fact, gets in the negative territory with a 3. See, green tries to push. Gets only 3 points with that. The blue has a push and gets 6. Black's back on it, so see what happens here. Oh, that's a really good roll by black. And red, of course, bumps his own die off, so did not work out best for him. There's definitely some trickiness to this game when you first play it. Your mind just thinks that this can't be that difficult to do. And as soon as you start playing it, anything you expected to happen does not happen in the way you want it to. If you try to bump too softly, the die won't move that much, and then you'll have 2 dice in the negative territory. Trying to transfer that energy from one dice to the other and try to get both of them off of a negative area, it's pretty tough to do. Usually doesn't happen. Usually one will stay in that negative, and the best you can hope for is one to fall off and one to go in the 4 pocket. So you really want to be careful on your first roll not to get in the negative, which you could easily. That's why I say it's definitely something to consider, making your own house rules for this, of maybe bringing a deck of cards out and say if you draw a spade, you have to bounce it. If you draw a heart, you have to push. Maybe if you draw a diamond, you have to flick. And then I guess if you draw a club, you could do any of those movements, whatever your choice is. Would probably make an interesting game because the minute you take away somebody's push, whatever plan they had in their head instantly goes out the window and they have to do something different. Definitely an interesting way to play this game. A lot of fun, new challenge and nuance to it. So we're going to see a bounce here, goes right off the table. And then see what green will do. Green is going to try to flick and just getting the aim just right, trying to get an area where they can maximize their points. So they got 2 1s and the 3. They almost got black off the 4, but he's still on there. And now we'll do the scores. We have 163 by blue, 114 tie with green and black. And that's the end of the game. So I want to say, if you actually want to play games like this out in public against strangers, come to our subreddit card game meetups, post your city, what place you want to do this at, and what games you might want to play. Do click under the show more in the description. You'll see all the pertinent links like the music to this video, as well as a link to a Discord server where you can talk about games like Tumblin Dice, or other card games, dice games, domino games. Any type of free game, even including commercial board games, are discussed there. So do call up your friends and let them know you'd like to play some cards. They might say yes, and they might say no, but you never know unless you call. Sometimes you have to be the person to do that. Do like, subscribe, and share these videos with other people you know love playing games. And do vote for July's Game of the Month. And I do promise I will have June's Game of the Month done pretty soon once I figure that game out. And I want to thank today's musicians, and I will see everybody next video.